looking forward to the summit in November, what you sort of are hoping to get out of that nutrition summit, what you think some of the big next steps are going to be.
Well, the International Conference on Nutrition, the ICN2, is kind of a key moment for nutrition. It's really the second conference since the early 90s where the whole international community has come together to look at how do we address malnutrition. And I think, the progress that was made from the last conference almost 20 years ago has been pretty dismal. We still have over 800 million people in the world hungry, which is around what it was when they had the last conference 20 years ago.
So what will it take at this conference to make sure that the next time we have one, we've actually made progress?
Well, what we really need is we need to have all the key stakeholders coming together with a common vision and a common plan. We've already begun that with the Scale Up Nutrition movement, which has been the main effort for the last 5 years where the nutrition sectors come together. And so at this conference, we really kind of need to make sure that we're getting more of the key stakeholders, not just governments, which are at the core of that meeting, but all the stakeholders aligned on the vision to get us to 2030.
So speaking of bringing together stakeholders and public-private partnerships, obviously those partnerships are sort of critical to the way that GAIN operates, critical to your mission. And there's a lot of talk in the development community about PPPs, about what role they can play. And so I'm curious, what you're seeing in terms of if they're working, how they're working, and perhaps how they can work better to really help achieve the sustainable development goals that will be decided in the coming days.
Well, I think in the certainly looking at food security and nutrition, public-private partnerships are a very new phenomena, and I think our experimenting with them over the last 12 years or so, I think we've seen mixed results. We've seen in some cases around staple food fortification some very good progress. It's taking 10 years, and these are where you have government at the center of them, but you have the private sector, civil society coming together around a big agenda, for example, to add micronutrients to staple foods for the whole country. Those have been working fairly well. But in other areas, I think we see, more challenges. We don't see enough resources often on the table or enough commitment from the partners, or we sometimes don't see that the partners, they're looking for quick fixes, and a lot of the problems we're trying to address are decade-long challenges. So I think we're still learning what works, but it's definitely has to be a big part of the future going forward. I mean, most people don't get their food from the government, they get it through the marketplace, and so we have to look at how do we crowd in markets, how do we make markets work so they're producing good products, so they're having a positive impact on nutrition. And this is going to take new types of partnerships. It also needs resources to incentivize these partnerships, because for a lot of the players it's not going to happen by itself. Some of the best interventions that we know in nutrition, they don't have much of a return on investment for the private sector, so they're not really interested in them. So we have to find what are those win-win scenarios going forward. But it really needs to be different types of partnerships. I think what the nutrition community has agreed is that multi-stakeholder, multi-sector alliances need to be at the center of this. We agree on that. How do we make that happen? We haven't yet agreed on it.